In this video, I'm going to give you 10 pieces of no BS study advice that literally took me years to learn. Once I learned these things, I went from getting B's in year 10 to getting 3 A stars and 1 A in my A-level exams and getting accepted into the University of Hong Kong. The thing is, what I'm about to share you in this video are things that school will literally never teach you, because if they did, then every single student would be getting really good grades. So okay, enough talking, enough yapping, I'm gonna get straight into the video. Point number 1, grades do matter. I don't care what anyone else says right now. I don't care whether it's your friends, your teachers. Grades absolutely matter. They matter way more than you think, because the universities, the first thing that the universities look at are actually your grades. They don't care about no extracurriculars, your CV, nothing. If you don't get above a certain grade threshold, then they will literally just put you into the reject list. Like, it's as simple as that. So for you to even be considered as an applicant for a good university, a top high-ranking university, you need to get a certain level of grades first. When I was younger, when I was in high school, I had teachers around me saying that, grades don't really matter that much. You can just cruise by school. It doesn't, it's chill, bro. Like, high school is just meant for you to learn how to learn. That's completely BS. Being completely honest, that's completely BS. Grades absolutely matter. Because right now, you're a student, you're probably broke, you probably don't have a job, you probably don't earn any money. So the highest leverage thing that you could literally do right now is to study hard, grind hard, and get accepted into a really good university. Recently, I've been seeing kind of like videos on the internet where they say, if your student don't care about grades so much, just start a business. Yes, that's true. But think about that. The people who are actually telling you this piece of advice are people who have gotten into a really good university, make really good friends, and have a really strong network of people. That's why they're able to start the business that they're currently starting. So my point is, grades matter much more than you think. The second advice that I have for you is to stop taking notes. Before you think that I'm like some random guy on the internet where I'm just talking BS, let me ask you this question. When you do write your notes, you make the notes really pretty, you fold them, put them into your backpack, and you just completely forget about them, right? The thing is, what I found was that when I was in year 12, you see, I made this really big realization that I took notes, but I never actually used them. I never actually went back and reread my notes. Like, it was just a complete waste of time. So when I first made this realization, I completely stopped taking notes. So you're probably wondering, what do I do in class? Matthew, what do you do in class? Well, that's actually the thing that I'm about to show you in point 2.5, which is to do flashcards instead. Instead of taking notes in a physical book or a physical notebook, why not try going onto this app called Remnote, remnote.com, completely free. And why don't you try creating flashcards in question and answer format? Because this is the best way to learn. The best way to learn is by answering questions. With physical notes, you're gonna take those notes and then you're just gonna put them back in your backpack and never read them until 2 or 3 weeks before the exam. Completely useless. Why not go onto Remnote, create flashcards, then the app will literally space out all the flashcards for you. So you literally don't have to do anything. And you will just do them maybe once or twice or 3 times every single week. Because that actually leverages this thing called spaced repetition. I'm sure you know what that is already, but for those of you who don't, spaced repetition is when you repeatedly test yourself over and over again so that the information goes into your long-term memory. And that's exactly what you want. So try this for maybe 2 or 3 days. Stop taking notes, bring a laptop into your class, go on this app called Remnote, start making flashcards instead of actually just writing the notes brainlessly onto your notebook. Point number 3, cram early. This is a really important one. When I was younger, when I was in year 10 and year 11, I made the really big mistake where I would go to class, do my homework assignments, but never actually do any past paper questions that would probably be tested on the real exam. That was the biggest mistake that I did, and I highly regret it. When I was in IGCSE, I got 6 A stars and 2 A's, which is pretty good. But considering the fact that it was during COVID and the grade thresholds were kind of lower, I knew I could have done way better. And one thing that I completely neglected was to do past paper questions after I learned the material after going to class. That was the biggest mistake that I did. And I don't want you to go through that same mistake that I did. Because let's be completely honest. Textbook questions, homework assignments, they don't mean anything. Because the exam board is the organization that will literally determine what you'll be tested on in the real exam. So it would make much more sense to do topical past paper questions instead of doing, textbook questions or assignments that are handed to you by your teacher. One mindset shift that I made recently was that it's never too early to start studying. It's never too early to start studying, because if you start studying now, it's not like you're gonna forget all the material later. That's a really big misconception. So you need to start early so that you can implement spaced repetition so that you can actually remember stuff on the exam really quickly. Tip number 4, throw your textbook in the trash. Your textbook is a horrible place to start. The best way to learn new information quickly is to watch YouTube videos. So if you're taking A-level maths, you could literally search up 9709 Cambridge A-level maths, I don't know, permutations and combinations or something, some random topic. My point is that the YouTube teachers, the people who actually teach you the information on YouTube, are actually way better teachers than the textbook itself. So literally throw your textbook in the trash. It doesn't help at all. The only time where your textbook might be helpful is if you want to find more practice problems and practice questions to test your knowledge. That's it. Other than that, your textbook is like completely useless. Point number 5, always cross-reference your syllabus. Your syllabus is literally the most important tool in your arsenal. Okay, so let's say you really do need to look at the textbook because that's the only thing that you have. Always cross-reference it with your syllabus. Always do this, because a lot of the textbook stuff is completely yap, like I've said earlier. So that's why you need to cross-reference it with your syllabus, because your syllabus literally tells you exactly what you need to know, every single topic, what's actually going to be tested on the real exam. By the way, if you're watching this type of educational content and you actually want to get better grades quickly, then the best way to do that is to learn how to learn. And in my paid community, I literally go over the exact system step by step that I use to get 3 A stars and 1 A in my A-levels and get accepted into the University of Hong Kong. And not only that, I also share you productivity systems, time management systems, and other systems that have literally helped me get the grades that I wanted. Imagine if you could study so much faster than your classmates, cut down hours of studying time per week, and find the time to actually do the things that you enjoy. Maybe it's like boxing, swimming, sports, maybe even like chess or some other creative hobby. Wouldn't that be nice? And so the best way to do that is to learn how to learn. So if you're interested, go and check out the first link in the description below. Point number 6, always prime before class. So priming is literally just looking at the material before you go to class. It's that simple. I only recently learned this tip in university, but once I actually learned how to prime before class, class time just becomes so much more productive. I'm able to pay attention to the lecturer so much more because I know what's actually going to be covered in class. And that is really important. So how do I personally prime before class? Well, before class, I usually go on my iPad and I create this little mind map diagram. That's kind of a topic for another video, but basically I create a mind map diagram to just show, to kind of like the big picture of what's going to be in class. Point number 7, ask more questions. There is no stupid question that you can ask in class. And from my years of experience, I can tell you the best students always ask questions in class. There is no stupid question you can ask, because let's say you go into class, for example, math. Let's say you ask a really stupid question like, what's the formula for the Pythagoras theorem? Your teacher and the classmates around you are probably gonna look at you like, hey yo, you learned that in grade 9, didn't you? Why are you asking that now? That's okay, because that actually increases your level of emotional investment into the material that you're studying. Studies show that when you're actively interested and engaged in the material that you're currently studying, especially in class, then the retention of that material becomes so much higher. Like literally 30 or 40% higher. Point number 8, create an error booklet. So what is an error booklet, you might be asking? An error booklet is basically a Google Doc of all of the past paper questions that you struggled with. That's it. It's so simple, but I've never really seen other students do it until I actually entered university. That's because I think most students in high school don't really know how to study. But once you actually learn this tip, it's a complete game changer. When I was in year 12, I didn't know what an error booklet was, but in year 13, I started to unconsciously use this method. I would think to myself, I did all of these past papers, I've done all of these questions, but I've gotten like so many of these questions wrong. Would it be wise for me to actually put those into a Google Doc so that I could actually do them later? And that's exactly what I did. And when I did that, my grades literally improved by so much from AS level to A level. My math scores literally went from a 93 to a 97. So remember when I said that you needed to cram early and do more past paper questions? Well, the reason is because you want to cram early so that you get an error booklet of all of your weaknesses, all of the hard topics, all of the hard past paper questions that you couldn't do. And once you actually do them before the exam, you realize that your weaknesses actually turn into your strengths. And that is actually so powerful. So point number 9, prioritize your mental health first. You know, on the internet, there's a lot of people that say, oh, you gotta study, grind, study 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, and don't even care about your own mental health or physical well-being. That is just terrible advice, and let me tell you why. The reason why your mental health is so important is because if you've ever tried studying with poor mental health, like you're not getting enough sleep, you're constantly stressed, you're tired, you're depressed, your productivity literally goes down the roof. It sucks. It really sucks. And let me tell you, when my mental health was really bad, especially when I was in year 10 and year 11 during online school, I literally could not focus no matter how hard I tried. I remember there were literally mornings where I would wake up, tell myself that I was going to study, but because I was addicted to social media and video games and other stuff, I was literally not able to focus because my mental health was so shit. That's why I think mental health is so important. So the last point number 10, is to embrace lifelong learning. Look, in high school and in university even, you're not just learning stuff just for the sake of learning the information, right? No, you're learning how to learn. And that's actually such an important thing. Because think about it, 10, 20, 30 years from now, in your future job, your career, you'll constantly be learning. You go into a job once you enter university, because like once you exit university, right? Like you know nothing. You literally know nothing. You're like a sponge again. You have to start from zero and build all the way up. And the way that you build all these skills is through learning. There's no other option. So right now is the best time to learn how to learn. And you will literally thank your future self if you actually start learning how to learn right now. So if you want to learn how to actually learn, I go through the entire learning system that I use in A-Star Students, my paid community linked below in the description. But even apart from that, the best way to learn how to learn is to start applying the stuff that you actually learn. So for example, error booklet, RemNote, flashcards, stop taking notes, all of these tips, if you actually apply them and find your own learning system, then that's literally going to carry you for the rest of your life. But personally though, I feel like A-Star Students is the best way for you to start learning how to learn. Because I literally compressed all 4 years of my studying knowledge and the knowledge that I'm about to build upon right now as I'm studying in university. I've literally compressed that into so many dense courses. You can check the first link in the description if you want to know more. But as always, may God guide us on the right path, and I'll see you in the next video.